lot of blue sky, a lot of sunshine, and I don't think you can find a cloud even if you're looking for it.
Norman Cash coming to bat now, trailing 1-0 in the 6th inning with nobody on base and one man down for Detroit. Here's the windup, the pitch. There's a long drive to deep right, it's out of here.
He swings a line shot, base hit, right field, hits on straight line to score, and the Tigers have won their first pennant since 1945. He swings, there's a long drive to right, and it is a home run for Gibson. And Tigers Stadium is going crazy. Gone! Robert Fick, he does it with a grand slam that hit on the right field rope.
And here's the fellow who won the third game in the World Series, his third victory, Mickey Lolich. And Mickey, it has been fantastic what you have done.
Thank you, Ernie. Thank you very much. I really don't have too much to say right now. I really don't.
It has been an absolute joy for 19 years to share the Tiger Radio booth with you.
Here comes Herndon. He's there. He's got it. The Tigers are the champions of 1984.
Well, I think my biggest thrill was when I was in Cooperstown. I won the Fort C. Frick Award, putting me in the broadcast wing, and I was up on the platform there with those great players that I admired all my life, and I had to respond and make a speech. I don't think I'd ever been that nervous in my life.
In baseball, democracy shines its clearest. The only race that matters is the race to the bag. This is a game for America. Still a game for America, this baseball. Thank you.
Well, there have been so many great moments in my adventure, and it's wonderful that God's given me a chance to be at the microphone and enjoy a job that I really love. But I think the most fun is just to be with the people around baseball and to come to the ballpark every day and to just be a part of it.
In 1960, Ernie Harwell became the voice of the Detroit Tigers, replacing Van Patrick. He worked 19 seasons with Paul Carey. Hall of Fame announcer for the Detroit Tigers, Mr. Ernie Harwell.
Thank you very much. We don't want to be penalized now for the delay of the game, but I do want to express my feelings here. It's a wonderful night for me. I really feel lucky to be here, and I want to thank you for that warm welcome. I want to express my deep appreciation to Mike Ilitch, Dave Dombrowski, and the Tigers for that video salute, and also for the many great things they've done for me and my family throughout my career here with the Tigers. In my almost 92 years on this earth, the good Lord has blessed me with a great journey. And the blessed part of that journey is that it's going to end here in the great state of Michigan. I deeply appreciate the people of Michigan. I love their grit. I love the way they face life. I love the family values they have. And you Tiger fans are the greatest fans of all. No question about that. And I certainly want to thank you from the depth of my heart for your devotion, your support, your loyalty, and your love. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Ernie Harwell became an icon as the voice of the Detroit Tigers for 42 years, but his career in Major League Baseball started by calling games for Jackie Robinson's Brooklyn Dodgers in 1948. CNN looks back at the 1981 Baseball Hall of Fame inductee, Ernie Harwell.
And it is long gone.
I grew up with his voice. It's really strange to explain it. Like you just hear the echo, and it brings a good warm feeling to you.
To many sports fans, Ernie Harwell was as Americana as baseball or apple pie. For 55 years, more than a half a century, Harwell was a leading play-by-play man on Major League Baseball radio broadcasts.
Stood there like the house by the side of the road and watched it go by. Struck him out.
His lifelong love of the game was really lifelong. The Georgia native was a bat boy for the local pro team, the Crackers, at the tender age of 5. The same team for which he began his announcing career 20 years later. After a 4-year stint in the Marines during World War II, Harwell returned to the broadcast booth and made baseball history as the only announcer ever traded for a player. Harwell was also behind the mic for the famous Shot Heard Round the World, a home run by Bobby Thompson in 1951 that won the NL pennant for the New York Giants over the Brooklyn Dodgers.
I had a feeling when the home run was hit that it was going to be very significant, but I didn't know that it would have as long a life as it had.
Harwell called games for the Dodgers, Giants, and Orioles before settling in Detroit in 1960, where he became a legend.
Now ready, kicks and deals. Here's a swing, and there's another drive to left. It's deep, and this one is gone.
Harwell was the Tigers' play-by-play man for the next 42 seasons, a run that included 2 World Series championships in 1968 and 1984. He stepped away from full-time duties just shy of his 85th birthday.
I've just finished my baseball broadcasting career, and it's time to say goodbye, but I think goodbyes are sad, and I'd much rather say hello. Hello to a new adventure. I'm not leaving, folks. I'll still be with you, living my life in Michigan, my home state, surrounded by family and friends. And rather than goodbye, please allow me to say thank you.
Harwell's beloved Tigers would need a 9th inning rally to get past the first place.
Met him even once, he was so much more than that. Ernie announced last September that he was suffering from bile duct cancer, and now 8 months later, we pay tribute to a man who was truly one of a kind. There will be a public viewing for Ernie on Thursday at Comerica Park. Gate A will open at 7 a.m. The team will then pay tribute to Ernie prior to Monday's game against the New York Yankees. A flag bearing Ernie's initials will then be raised on the center field flagpole and will fly there for the remainder of the season. We now present, without commercial interruption, Ernie Harwell Will Remember.
But it doesn't make too much difference whether you for him or against him. I think that everybody realizes the strengths and the weaknesses of the Detroit Ball Club for 1960.
The Tigers run it. Here comes K-line to score, and it's all over. The fans are steaming on the field.
There's a fly ball left, and maybe it's deep. Going back, Lowenstein. It's gone.
There's a swing and a tip foul off the mid of Rivera.
You Tiger fans are the greatest fans of all. No question about that. And rather than goodbye, please allow me to say thank you. Thank you for letting me be part of your family.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ernie Harwell Will Remember. I'm Mickey York. From the moment Comerica Park opened, Ernie Harwell has been there to greet all those that have entered her gates. His familiar voice remains with us today. In 1981, Ernie became the first living broadcaster inducted into baseball's Hall of Fame, but calling games was just a part of his story. Over the next half hour, through his own words and those of others, we will honor a life extremely well lived. We begin with John Keating, who explains for a young man that grew up in the South and made his home in Michigan, Ernie quickly became a national treasure.
The line shot, base hit, right field, the Tigers win it. Here comes K-Line to score, and it's all over. Downward singles, the Tigers mob Don. K-Line has scored, the fans are streaming on the field, and the Tigers have won their first pennant since 1945.
What you may not know is that this was a Hall of Fame broadcasting career which almost never happened.
Well, I had a speech impediment from about the time I was 3 or 4 years old up until grammar school, and it was called tongue-tied. I couldn't say an S, I couldn't say a CH, I'd say ficken instead of chicken, and if I wanted to say Susie, I'd say Foozie. And I think maybe a lot of people think I'm still tongue-tied.
That was never the case from the moment that his professional career began. Going to ball games with his dad and playing sandlot ball with his brothers launched the dream of professional baseball. He thought he'd be playing it, not describing it.
When I was very young, I wanted to be a big league ball player, and I found out I couldn't make it. And then when I was in high school, I connected with the Sporting News. I wrote the editor, and he didn't know I was only 16 years old, so he gave me the job as Atlanta correspondent. And that's when I really connected up with the media, 1934, the year that Sparky Anderson and Al Kaline were born.
Ernie's work in newspapers continued for 6 years until a station in Atlanta, WSB, gave him his first shot at broadcasting. He soon became the play-by-play voice of the AA Atlanta Crackers and was behind the mic for more than a half-century, getting his shot at the major leagues in a most unique way.
When I was working with the Crackers in 1948, Red Barber, the great Brooklyn announcer, became ill on a trip to Pittsburgh. He had an ulcer perforate on him, and the Branch Rickey, his boss, contacted the fellow that owned the Atlanta Crackers, Earl Mann, and said, "I'd like to have Ernie Harwell come up and replace Red." And Earl Mann said, "Well, Mr. Rickey, that's good, but I've got Ernie under contract. If you really want him badly enough, you send me your catcher from Montreal, Cliff Dapper." So I got to the big leagues, traded for a minor league catcher.
After a year with the Dodgers, Ernie was lured crosstown to the New York Giants, migrated to the Baltimore Orioles, and Detroit baseball history changed forever in the spring of 1960, when Ernie Harwell and George Kell began sitting side by side through good times and some, well, not so good.
But it doesn't make too much difference whether you're for them or against them. I think that everybody realizes the strengths and the weaknesses of the Detroit Ball Club for 1960.
Ernie Harwell was so much more than a baseball announcer. He was a gateway to our past. That voice is tied to our best baseball memories, and, well, he was a part of our families, part of what made it so special to grow up in Michigan.
I don't think anything nicer to a guy can happen than that, because I hear a lady might write and say, when I hear your voice, I think of my grandfather. I sat on the porch with him, and I didn't know anything about baseball, but your voice was always in the background. It's just a great thing to let people take you into their family, and then they can tell you about it, and I love to hear that, I really do.
Next on Ernie We'll Remember, two of Ernie's proteges tell us what kind of example their mentor set. The final game at Tiger Stadium was something to remember, and there's only one voice who could do it justice. But up next, the Tigers organization says thank you for a lifetime of memories. September 15th, 2002 was a special day at Comerica Park. It was Ernie Harwell Day. The Tigers honored the legendary broadcaster with his own statue that sits just inside the front gates of the stadium. And it was an honor that Ernie was more than happy to share with all Tiger fans.
I hope that you'll bring your children and grandchildren and look at that statue and remember me. Remember me as someone who deeply appreciated the love and affection that you gave me over so many baseball seasons. And I'd like to end my remarks with a little verse about this wonderful statue. When I see a statue, I think of history, of Washington and Lincoln, generals Grant and Lee. I don't deserve a statue or part of history, but let me tell you from my heart, I'm proud this statue's me. God bless you.
Welcome back to Ernie Harwell, We'll Remember. This statue really is a testament to how much Ernie has meant to the Detroit Tigers organization. Even towards the end of his career, when the Tigers had fallen on lean times, his enthusiasm for the game never diminished. Near the end of the 2002 season, Ernie called his final game here at Comerica Park, and we were fortunate enough to be there every step of the way.
How are you? Greetings. Hello, Jerome. Lovely day today. How's everybody? How you doing? Got a little coffee here? Yeah, cleaning up my old locker. Oh yeah, here's one I gotta take, I guess. And I'm gonna do an interview with Charlie Steiner now.
The last couple of months has been so intense.
Well, I think that one word would probably be ridiculous because I'm just a guy doing a baseball game. What do you say, gentlemen? Everybody all right? Had a beautiful day? Let's keep the rain away. I'm at the chapel today, so I'm going over there now. Well, I'm a turtle on a fence post, and I know a lot of you guys go hunting, you walk through fields, and once in a while you see a turtle up on a fence post. And when you see that, you have to realize that that turtle didn't get that by himself. There's no way a turtle could get on the top of a fence post. Somebody has to put him up there, and whatever fence post I'm on, I'm there because of my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Before we had chapel, we had sort of a joke that my religion was the church nearest the hotel, you know, on Sunday morning.
He's waiting, and here's the first pitch. It backs him off an inside curve from Mike Maroff.
The Yanks are tough in the early innings, they're tough in the late innings, and they're tough in the middle innings. There's a swing and a tip foul off the mid of Rivera. 1-1 the count on him, 3-0 Yanks on top in the first.
Hurry up and get home, Ernie.
This may be the final out of my Tiger home season. There's a little roller hit the first base. It is picked up, a fair ball, touched on the bag by Johnson. The game's over. The season is over. Thanks for everything, everybody in Detroit. And the final score here in the final game, the Yankees 4 and the Tigers 3.
Hi, folks. All right. All right.
Ernie, the Tigers, Jim Stapleton, want you to have home plate from Comerica Park from your final game as a broadcaster in Detroit.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
The Detroit Tigers proudly announced today that commencing with opening day 2003, the entire press box level of Comerica Park will be renamed the Ernie Harwell Media Center.
Wow.
We all have intersections in our life, and I'm going to reach another crossroad and hope the traffic light's with me when I cross the street.
As kids, they wanted to be Ernie Harwell, and now they're both play-by-play announcers for the Tigers. Coming up next, Mario Mpemba and Dan Dickerson talk about the responsibility of following a legend.
It wasn't easy to say goodbye. Nobody wants to walk away from a treasure. We did it with a lump in our throat and a tear in our eyes. For almost 40 years, I've spent as much time at this corner of Michigan and Trumbull as I have at home. I've been elated, dejected, thrilled, and disappointed here. I've sweltered through the summer heat, and I've frozen in the spring and the fall, in sickness and in health, then my home, my office, and my refuge.
Tiger Stadium has been a dear friend. And even though I look forward to our new home, Comerica Park, and to the thrill of watching new Tiger stars, this old corner and its great players will remain a timeless gift of the past. Tonight, in saying goodbye, we have celebrated our great teams and our outstanding players. The 1934-1935 champions pulled our city out of the Great Depression, and the 68 Tigers were part of Detroit's healing process following those terrible riots of 1967. The 84 champions were great too, and we have a special place in our hearts for them. And tonight we felt the presence of those great stars of the past. We remember the flashing spikes of Ty Cobb, the grace of Charlie Gehringer, the power of Hank Greenberg, and the classic consistency of Al Kaline, and that durable duo of the Keystone, Lou Whitaker and Alan Trammell. Tiger Stadium, well, this corner is part of our history, our heritage. It's been magic, hope, and the true heartbeat of our city. We've been part of those memories, and we treasure them. From generation to generation, we've joined the joyous crowd. And all of us love this old place, and its closing has tugged at our hearts. For all of us here at Fox Sports Net, Detroit. To all of you, this is Ernie Harwell saying, so long from the corner of Michigan and Trumbull, Bennett Park, Navin Field, Briggs Stadium, and Tiger Stadium. We'll remember.
Someone, I guess, will succeed Ernie Harwell, even has since he retired in 2002. No one will replace him. He is quite literally, I don't engage in hyperbole, quite truly, he is irreplaceable. You cannot replace that kind of personal attachment, that kind of umbilical cord between Ernie and the entire state of Michigan. State of Michigan, the entire upper Midwest, and in a sense, through radio and television, the entire country.
Welcome back to Ernie Harwell We'll Remember. I'm Mickey York. Ernie spent the last couple of years of his career calling games from right here in the Comerica Park radio booth. Thousands of Tigers fans grew up listening to Ernie on the radio call every home run, double, and foul ball caught by a young man from Livonia. Thousands more probably dreamed of following in his footsteps. Fox Sports Detroit's Mario Mpemba and the radio voice of the Tigers, Dan Dickerson, were able to make that fantasy a reality. Here's Mario and Dan in their own words.
I think that Ernie Harwell was and always will be the voice of the Detroit Tigers. You know, other people like myself will come and maybe call Tigers baseball in the future, but you know, there's not going to be another Ernie Harwell, and in my estimation, he's always going to be the voice. So, you know, the one thing about Ernie is that he's a national figure, not just a Detroit or a Michigan figure. He's beloved all over the country, and to me, that's special.
You know, it's amazing. I mean, I think you always feel like you've come to know somebody by listening to them for hundreds, if not thousands of games on the radio. And by that time, it probably was thousands of games. And he just seemed as nice in person as you would expect. And I guess I didn't expect any different, but there was none of that, oh, I'm about to meet Ernie Harwell, because he put you at ease so quickly.
First time I met Ernie Harwell was in 1995 when I was a young broadcaster for the California Angels at that time. We had played the Tigers opening day, as a matter of fact, in Anaheim, and I met Ernie Harwell for the first time, and he was so gracious, and he had treated me like I was a 20-year big league veteran. And the one thing he did that night was to tell me, you know what, I'm going to say hello to your parents on the air tonight for you. And he did. He sent a message out over Tigers radio to my parents saying, hey, your boy's okay, he's in California, he's doing fine, don't worry.
But I remember in 2000, my overriding feeling was one of anxiety, because I loved baseball, and I thought, am I still going to love baseball after 162 games? Am I going to get worn down by a 162 game schedule? What is this going to be? Can I do the job? I hadn't done minor league baseball. I'd only practiced my baseball. So I had all these feelings kind of going through me and through my head as I walked to the backfields at Joker Marchant Stadium, literally my first day on the job in spring training. And Ernie was the first person I walked into as I walked to the backfield, and he gave me a big greeting, and I told him some of my anxiety, and he said, just get what's in front of you right. And everything else really is style. And I thought, okay, I can do that.
Well, he's as close to the perfect human being, I guess, as you can find. He's probably the most humble person that I know, considering what he's accomplished and what he represents. And to me, that's extremely impressive and very, very special. The first time I met Ernie, it was exactly how I expected it to be. Just a humble gentleman who was very helping and willing to help. And to me, that's a very special trait to have.
What makes this game interesting? I mean, that's what he carried, that enthusiasm that he carried, I think was amazing. And because he loved the game, I love the game, make sure that the listeners know that. It's a high standard, and you know, someday I hope to reach it. But you take it very seriously.
Calling Ernie merely a Hall of Famer doesn't do his career justice. He was a friend, husband, father, and a broadcasting legend. Up next, some of Ernie's contemporaries reflect on his impact on the air and off.
Pena digging in, waiting. Here's the set, the pitch. Swing and a miss. And the Toronto Blue Jays will win it, the final game of 2002. The final score, the Blue Jays 1 and the Tigers nothing. The Tigers have just finished their 2002 season, and I've just finished my baseball broadcasting career. And it's time to say goodbye, but I think goodbyes are sad, and I'd much rather say hello. Hello to a new adventure. I'm not leaving, folks. I'll still be with you, living my life in Michigan, my home state, surrounded by family and friends. And rather than goodbye, please allow me to say thank you. Thank you for letting me be part of your family. Thank you for taking me with you to that cottage up north, to the beach, the picnic, your workplace, and your backyard. Thank you for sneaking your transistor under the pillow as you grew up loving the Tigers. Now, I might have been a small part of your life, but you've been a very large part of mine, and it's my privilege and honor to share with you the greatest game of all. Now, God has a new adventure for me, and I'm ready to move on. So I leave you with a deep sense of appreciation for your long-time loyalty and support. I thank you very much, and God bless all of you. All right, guys, we did all the damage we could do. All right, we love you.
The rock of Ernie Harwell's life was his wife, Lulu. The two were married for 68 years, and she stayed by her husband's side all the way to the end, which is no surprise because she was always there throughout their lives together.
Well, she's got a lot of patience to begin with, and she's very adaptive. And when we're going out, she can get dressed in a hurry. She's got a lot of wonderful qualities, but most of all, she's self-sacrificing, and she's very lovable. And she was at home to take care of things and be mom and dad when I was away, which was, of course, half my lifetime. And I owe a whole lot to her. She's the best thing ever happened to me.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Ernie Harwell, We'll Remember. As much as Ernie loved the game of baseball and hanging out with his media brethren here in the press box that now bears his name, as you just heard, he was a family man. But the thing about Ernie was he treated everyone like family, especially those that were fortunate enough to be a part of his baseball family.
I think personally, somehow or other, if you're fortunate enough, you do not let the microphone get between you and the listener. I think what happens to the listener with Ernie Harwell broadcasting, it's as if he is talking directly to the listener or to the viewer. There's nothing in between. Or it's as if you're sitting next to him in the ballpark. That's really where the love affair began with Ernie and his fans, and it has continued to this very day.
Yeah, I don't know that there's a nicer, more sincere, more uplifting person in the world than Ernie Harwell. I mean, he makes something positive and uplifting out of every experience that I've ever been around him in, that I've ever seen him react to, and he's touched every single person that he's ever come in contact with or that has listened to him in a positive fashion.
Not so much for me personally as, you know, the fact that he was a Hall of Fame broadcaster. I just got to know Ernie on a personal level and saw him over years, my 13 years in Detroit, and saw the way he treated people, and never saw Ernie say one bad thing about anybody. That's remarkable. The other thing that I will never ever see, probably ever again in the rest of my life, is Ernie's ability to remember everybody's name. I don't know how he did it. I asked him, he told me. I still don't believe him. I think he wrote it down and it was on his hand every time, but he just had a phenomenal memory.
I always just say, when you're around greatness, like I used to be around Ted Williams, you say, God speaking. And to me, Ernie Harwell is probably the most perfect person who has ever come this way through Michigan, through the Tiger fans. He has probably been the most perfect man you can ever imagine.
And now, from me to Ernie, this is special. I followed you into Ebbets Field. I followed you into the Hall of Fame. And I pray to God that I will measure up so that I can follow you into heaven, because I know eventually that's where you're going to wind up.
We hope you've enjoyed our tribute to Ernie Harwell, a voice that meant so much to so many people, may be gone, but it will never be silenced.
In my almost 92 years on this earth, the good Lord has blessed me with a great journey. And the blessed part of that journey is that it's going to end here in the great state of Michigan. I deeply appreciate the people of Michigan. I love their grit. I love the way they face life. I love the family values they have. And you Tiger fans are the greatest fans of all. No question about that. And I certainly want to thank you from the depth of my heart for your devotion, your support, your loyalty, and your love. Thank you very much, and God bless you. All right.
Hi again, good lookers. I'm Ernie Harwell.
We are here to honor one of baseball's all-time greatest broadcasters, Hall of Fame voice of the Detroit Tigers, Ernie Harwell.
You know, radio and baseball have been married for a long, long time. Wow, looks like we got a Tiger fan around here. Who would that be? I wonder.
We're down in the basement now at the Hall of Fame at Cooperstown. This is where they hide the really good stuff.
And by the way, how do you like my gloves, Dr. Harwell here? And I'm a proud guy. I got to have a raise. And Jim said, all right, I'll raise your salary 1 penny the next year. I'll start off with a mitt. I don't really know where this one came from, but it's big and it is stiff. Believe me, this is an old-fashioned infielder's glove. I rode the trains with Roy Campanella, Jackie Robinson, Pee Wee Reese, all those great boys of summer. He'd have a little whiskey on his breath. I didn't mind that at all. He didn't seem to mind it either. I asked him if I could do the interview. He said, yes, young man, come on in. I sat down, and for 15 minutes, Ty Cobb told me baseball stories. So I was reading the paper, and Leo slapped my paper right back in my face. So I grabbed him, and we began to wrestle. Wow, I tell you, scandals are right all over the place.
Ladies and gentlemen, get your skirt cards and pencils ready.
Johnny Hill from Douglasville never hit and never will. I might have put him to sleep in the first inning. He might have left me in the 5th. It might have been the 19th. I don't know when, but I put him to sleep. That announcement that Ernie made about the game being postponed was erroneous. Ernie, wherever you are, come on back. That's it for now. See you next time.
Coming to cancer at the age of 92. Coming up, our tribute to the gentle soul who touched so many lives here in the state of...
Swings and hits one in the right field. It is deep. It is way back, and it is all gone. A home run, 1-0 Detroit.
And I grew up in Pontiac, Michigan. Listened to Ernie's voice my whole life. When it's associated totally with Tiger baseball, I think we'll all miss it.
Tigers great Kirk Gibson talking in the summer of 2002 about Ernie Harwell's then pending retirement. In September of last year, Harwell announced he had inoperable cancer, but still, when word spread that Ernie had passed away on Tuesday, Tiger fans were stunned and saddened by the news. On Thursday, Ernie's body was brought to Comerica Park, where more than 10,000 fans came to pay their respects. Our Jack Doles was there.
The community has been aching. It's really been in pain. I mean, they lost somebody they dearly loved here.
The line started before the sun rose and continued to grow after it set.
In a way, I've lost one of my connections to a more innocent, simpler, more happy time.
For more than 40 years, Tiger fans tuned in to Ernie Harwell.
Well, we've got blue skies. We've got a beautiful evening. 73 degrees here at game time.
His voice, a most welcome guest.
When you heard his voice for opening day, it was just like kick your shoes off and get back in your lazy boy and relax and listen to the game.
With Ernie, you didn't need to be at the park to get caught up in a game. When you listened to his call,
and here's the pitch,
and you heard the excitement in his voice rise,
he swings as a long drive to right.
You felt like you were right there in the front row.
And it is a home run for Gibson.
But now that he's gone and his voice has been silenced, the fans that once roared with him came to quietly mourn. Many shed tears. Some came armed with flowers. Others put their hands over their hearts or took their hats off in salute.
We've had announcers who were fabulous. They wouldn't have drawn these crowds today because they didn't reach out to other people the way Ernie did.
And it wasn't just the common fan that came to pay their respects. Tiger owner Mike Ilitch and Thomas the Hitman Hearns are among the city's favorite sons, mourning the loss of one of its most beloved.
For people to know that Ernie is now gone, won't hear his voice anymore, it's going to be like, you know, losing something very dear and close to you.
In the summer of 2002, Ernie's last broadcasting with the Tigers, I had a chance to sit down and interview him for a story I was putting together on his retirement. Here now is part of that interview as Ernie talks about everything from who was the best player he ever saw play to why he treated people the way he did to how he felt being known by many as the Tigers. Many Tiger fans would say, okay, the Detroit Tigers are two things, Tiger Stadium and Ernie Harwell, and the stadium's been gone for a couple of years now, and now you're retiring. I mean, how do you feel when people refer to you as the Tigers?
I've always felt that the focus should be on the players and the team rather than the guy that's broadcasting the game. And it's nice, but my job is just to sit down and tell people what's happening. And I just consider myself a worker and a guy who shows up and tries to do the best he can. And if anything comes from that, that's fine. I'll try to accept it.
You've been honored at stadiums so far all around Boston, Atlanta, Texas. I've seen a lot of them. They had you on the All-Star game. I know you say you don't feel you deserve it, but what has all that meant to you? I mean, because now it's one thing to have it here in Detroit and Michigan, people who know you, but to have these receptions in other stadiums and other cities around the country, what has it meant to you?
Well, it's sort of humbling and rewarding at the same time, and I do deeply appreciate the fact that people have taken time to let me throw out the first pitch or give me a plaque or have a video salute or whatever they want to do. And it's fun. I enjoy it, and it's a little bit embarrassing, though. I'd say that would be the #1 word for me.
What are you thinking about as we get closer to that last game, and what do you think that last game is going to be like?
Well, the last game's going to be an emotional game for me, I think, because I know that I never broadcast again. I'm not one of these guys who's going to retire and then make 3 comebacks. I don't believe in that. I think you got to cut it clean and stay off the stage once you leave it. But it'll be a bittersweet time for me, and it'll be melancholy in a sense, but I know that God's got a new adventure for me, and whatever it is, I'm looking forward to it. So I'm not the kind of a guy that looks back. I believe in living in the present and accepting what happens and enjoying the moment, and then going forward from there.
What memories are you going to take with you, just from the whole baseball experience?
Well, I think what I'll remember most of all, that God blessed me by giving me a job I really enjoyed. And every time I walked in the ballpark, I certainly enjoyed myself. It was a wonderful job because it was something that I was in love with from the very beginning of my youth. I was always connected with baseball. I was a part of it all the time, and it meant so much to me to continue to be a part of it and last as long as I did. And I just appreciate the fact that I've had a job that has meant a great deal to me, and probably the easiest job anybody could have. And I always told people if I could find an easier job, I'd probably get it.
In the booth, what calls do you remember making the most? What vivid memories?
Well, I think with the Tigers, I think the call I remember the best would probably be connected with the '68 World Series. Gibson striking out a record number 17 in the first game in St. Louis, and then Jim Northrup's triple in the 7th game that scored 2 runs and sent the Tigers on to the World Championship and climaxed the pitching battle between Gibson and Mickey Lolich. And then I had a big thrill because I was the guy that was in the clubhouse doing radio and TV simulcast of the winning clubhouse, and I was right in the middle of the ceremony and got to see all those guys and have the happiest time of their lives. And the same thing happened in '84, although we hadn't been without a championship as long as we had in '68, and to see that '84 team go through wire to wire from first place to last, and then finally win the World Series and to beat San Diego with ease. And the climax was Gibson's home run for Goose Gossage. But there have been so many thrilling moments with the Tigers.
You've seen a lot of games, you've seen a lot of teams, you've seen different eras of baseball. I know this is a tough one. Who's the best all-around player you saw?
Willie Mays would be the best player I ever saw. I was lucky to be with the Giants when he made his debut.
Okay. Who's the best all-around Tiger you saw?
Al Kaline's the best all-around Tiger, and it was a thrill to see him day in and day out and in a Tiger uniform. He's missed the Tiger as far as I'm concerned.
You've always been, a very kind person, and you know I've come down, I've visited with you at spring training, and from my perception, it doesn't matter whether it's a former Tiger or a rookie coming up or a media member or a fan, you treat everyone the same. Has that always been the way you've approached life and approached people?
Well, I try to. I think, you know, God makes us all in His image, and we have to have respect for everybody. And I'm not too...
Some of their fondest memories of a truly great man. There's a lot to get to tonight, so at this time, we'll send you out to Comerica Park.
And I certainly want to thank you from the depth of my heart for your devotion, your support, your loyalty, and your love. Thank you very much, and God bless you. All
right. It was on this very piece of real estate that we last saw Ernie Harwell in person, and my last direct contact with him was finding him before he made his way outside of the stadium and getting a hug that I'll always remember. It is a very special night here at Comerica Park as we get a chance to sort of celebrate Ernie Harwell's life. Hi everybody, welcome to our Tigers Live pregame show. I'm John Keating. There was a sign in the stands that night that simply said how a person should be, and that certainly described Ernie Harwell. Along the Tigers dugout, all the players, the coaching staff, Jim Lee Leland, with his eyes filled with tears, leading the applause as Ernie made his final remarks on that day. At some point, there was sort of an odd moment in Ernie's remarks where he said, "I'm going to die. My life is going to end in the great state of Michigan." And that got a huge ovation. Certainly not because Ernie's life was ending, but that it was going to end here, and he had truly become one of us. We guess that Ernie Harwell probably described 600 or more Tigers-Yankees games. Tonight he'll have a very special vantage point for this one. And the night is made a little bit more special by a couple of broadcasting legends. Paul Carey for 19 years, Ernie Harwell's partner. Ray Lane for 6 years in the late 60s and early 70s, certainly part of Tiger broadcasting on the radio and television as well. Welcome back to Detroit. Always great to see both of you fine gentlemen. Paul, we talked about this a little bit earlier. We don't like the circumstances that have brought you back to Comerica Park, but give me a memory of Ernie Harwell that has stood out for you.
That's hard to say. Really, I don't have one that I can remember. I'd say probably it was not here, it was not at Tiger Stadium, it was in Cooperstown when he entered baseball's Hall of Fame. We went there, and a lot of people in that crowd did not know who Ernie Harwell was because they were from Boston or New York, and Harwell was from Detroit. By the end of his speech and his reading of the poem about what baseball is, everybody stood on their feet. They knew who Ernie was then.
Right, why was Ernie special?
Ernie was special because he treated everybody alike, whether they were broadcasters, whether they were players, whether they were fans, or somebody he met on the street. Everybody was equal to Ernie Harwell as far as how he treated them. That's what I admired about the guy, and I still say he was the original country gentleman that I met, and he was not only just a country gentleman in the radio booth, but with the public and the way he treated you as a close friend, like he knew you all your life.
Everybody felt they were his best friend once you got a chance to know Ernie. Paul, I believe that you thought that he was underrated as a broadcaster, perhaps until his later years.
Oh, I don't think that at all. You think that he was underrated?
No, around the country, perhaps he didn't. He wasn't appreciated perhaps as much as he should have been.
And he wasn't. He hadn't. Even though he'd started out in New York at the major league level with the Dodgers, then the Giants, and he'd been in Detroit since 1960. He had friends everywhere, but unfortunately, the New York press and the California press and the Chicago press tend to dominate. And I don't think that enough people in the country really knew what a great broadcaster and baseball broadcaster Ernie was. He gave them an inkling of that, though, when he did national television work, and he did some national radio work after he left the Tigers and before he came back again.
Ray, when was your last contact with Ernie?
I had lunch with him with a group of fellows, and that was on the 15th of December. And we said, we hope to see you on the next luncheon. He says, I'll try to make it. Well, by that time, a little bit later on after the holidays, he was suffering quite a bit and he was at home. But I did talk to him one time on the phone after that, and he still had that voice and that spirit of optimism. And of course, about his future, he'd already made up his decision.
Mr. Carey, just a last thought from you. I know that we're all sad about his passing, but shouldn't a night like tonight be a celebration of Ernie's life? And you know no one would enjoy that more than he.
We shouldn't be mourning Ernie here, because Ernie had this wonderful life, and this is a night to celebrate his life as a Tiger broadcaster, but his life from early days in Washington, Georgia, until he died last Tuesday.
Great to see you both back here.
Nice to be with you, John. Thank you.
Enjoy the game.
Thank you.
Paul Carey and Ray Lane will be a part of the opening ceremonies. They'll be throwing out the first pitch or involved in the first pitch. That pitch to be caught by Jim Leland when the special ceremonies honoring Ernie Harwell gets underway in just a matter of moments. We have just begun. The voice of summer echoes around Comerica Park. You're watching Tigers Live on Fox Sports Detroit. As a perfect human, his likes will not come our way again. He had a laugh that filled up a room, and that's why the smile should overwhelm the melancholy. this evening at Comerica Park. He'd love the matchup tonight, Tigers and Yankees, and the painful loss of Curtis Granderson here has been eased mightily by the play of his replacement. Austin Jackson, one of the Yankees' top prospects, life in just a matter of moments. He'll help raise a flag out in center field with Ernie's initials on it, and at the end of the season, that flag will be presented to Ernie's widow, Lulu. All of a sudden, tonight becomes one of Brandon's biggest baseball thrills.
Just for the simple fact that Ernie Harwell touched so many people, the way he announced games, just the way he was, good all-around man. And you know, for so many people to think so highly of him, and for me to be able to go out there and raise up his flag, it's absolutely special to me.
Well, as you might expect, now that he has a certain place of prominence upstairs, Ernie might have affected the weather tonight. Baseball tonight's forecast, presented by DAP, your basic DAP cast. Well, it is cool, otherwise perfect. Tigers and Yankees upcoming on a night that we honor Ernie Harwell. The first game back at home with Ernie's memories everywhere. Makes it more than just a night at the ballpark. The celebration of a life well lived continues. With Ernie's presence and his smile and good nature always among us, there will be a ball game played downtown. And it wasn't just the Tigers and Tiger fans who have a sense of loss on this first week after his passing. That's also true all across the game of baseball. And with more on that story, we welcome in Ryan Field.
Yeah, Keats, across the diamond, the Yankees in town. Joe Girardi said he's honored to be here tonight. So too is Derek Jeter. The Kalamazoo kid grew up in Michigan listening to Ernie Harwell as a kid. As he put it, my dad was a Tigers fan. I didn't have any other choice. But he is more than happy to be here on this very special occasion here tonight.
Ernie is someone that I listened to growing up, and I got the opportunity or the pleasure to get to know him throughout the years. And everyone talks about how great of a sportscaster he was, but he's a much better person.
And Jeter made a point to say every time he was in town, Ernie would always come up and say hi to him because he was a kid from Michigan, strike up a conversation with him. And Jeter says all these years later, that's something that I remember most about him and appreciate.
Yeah, great stuff. All right, Derek Jeter among those who will miss Ernie Harwell on this visit to Detroit. Well, keeping his edge is absolutely crucial to Miguel Cabrera, who is absolutely on fire.
But you've been a very large part of mine. Thank you for letting me be part of your family as you grew up loving the Tigers.
Attention Tigers fans.
Last week at Fordham University in the Bronx, Al Kaline was there to accept the award. He said that Ernie considered Scully to be the best baseball announcer. Said Al Kaline to the throng gathered, we would respectfully disagree, those Tiger fans among us. Suddenly, long gone, never seemed so far away. But shouldn't a great life have a great ending? Here at Comerica Park on this evening, in the first game back after Ernie's passing, we celebrate his life.
Ladies and gentlemen, for 42 years, Ernie Harwell served as the voice of the Detroit Tigers. For many of us, he was the primary way we experienced Tigers baseball. At home, at work, on vacation, or sneaking in a West Coast game with a transistor radio on our pillow. This past Tuesday night, we lost a legend. At the age of 92 years, Ernie Harwell is survived by his wife Lulu, their 4 children, William, Gray, Carolyn, and Julie, 7 grandchildren, and 7 great-grandchildren. At this time, please turn your attention to the video board in left field for a special retrospective tribute to Ernie Harwell.
We've got a beautiful evening for the ball game. 67 degrees as this one gets underway. A lot of blue sky, a lot of sunshine, and I don't think you can find a cloud even if you're looking for it.
Norman Cash coming to bat now, trailing 1-0 in the 6th inning with nobody on base and 1 man down for Detroit. Here's the windup, the pitch. There's a long drive to deep right. It's out of here.
He swings a line shot, base hit, right field. Here comes K-Line to score, and the Tigers have won their first pennant since 1945.
He swings, there's a long drive to right, and it is a home run for Gibson. And Tigers Stadium is going crazy.
Gone! Robert Fick, he does it with a grand slam that hit on the right field road.
And here's the fellow who won the 3rd game
in the World Series, his third victory. Mickey Lolich, and Mickey, it has been fantastic what you have done.
Thank you, Ernie. Thank you very much. I really don't have too much to say right now. I really don't.
It has been an absolute joy for 19 years to have shared a Tiger radio booth with you.
Here comes Herndon. He's there. He's got it. The Tigers are the champions of 1984.
Well, I think my biggest thrill was when I was in Cooperstown. I won the Fort C. Frick Award, putting me in the broadcast wing. And I was up on the platform there with those great players that I admired all my life, and I had to respond and make a speech. I don't think I'd ever been that nervous in my life.
In baseball, democracy shines its clearest. The only race that matters is the race to the bag. This is a game for America. Still a game for America, this baseball. Thank you.
There have been so many great moments in my adventure, and it's wonderful that God's given me a chance to be at the microphone and enjoy a job that I really love. But I think the most fun is just to be with the people around baseball and to come to the ballpark every day and to just be a part of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, starting this past Wednesday and continuing throughout the remainder of the 2010 season, all Tigers players and coaches will wear a commemorative embroidered patch in Ernie's memory. And starting tonight, a memorial flag will fly within Comerica Park and will be presented to the Harwell family following the Tigers' final home game of the 2010 season. And now please turn your attention to center field as we raise this flag for the very first time. On the field to assist in tonight's flag-raising ceremony are 6 individuals from Ernie's broadcasting career. First, the current play-by-play announcer of your Detroit Tigers, Dan Dickerson. Ernie's most recent and final radio partner, representing all of the on-air talent who worked alongside Ernie over the past 60 years, Jim Price. Next, representing all Tigers players from the last 15 years, our longest tenured current Tigers player, Brandon Inge. Our 4th flag bearer was an infielder on the 1984 World Series championship team, and today he represents all Tigers from this era who played in front of Ernie. Tigers first base coach, Tom Brookins. A product of Detroit's Northwestern High School, who played his entire Tigers career under the caring eye of Ernie Harwell, our hometown hero, Willie Horton. And finally, the player whose consistent excellence, so vividly described by Ernie over the airwaves, earned him a spot in Cooperstown, number 6, Al Kaline. And representing the entire Harwell family, please welcome Ernie's daughters, Carolyn Rayleigh and Julie Harwell. And now, fans, please join us in observing a period of silence as we raise the flag in memory of Ernie Harwell.
All the way up, guys. All the way up. All the way up.
Price ought to do that. He's a little help.
The rain is over and gone, the flowers appear on the earth, the time of the singing of birds is come, and the voice of the turtle is heard in our land.
Thank you. This flag, featuring the initials EH, will fly all season long from the center field flagpole here at Comerica Park. It symbolizes Ernie's career, life, and enduring spirit in the hearts of all Tiger fans. May his kindness, generosity, joy for life, and compassion for others be an inspiration for all of us. We thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you all please rise if you've not yet done so. Gentlemen, please remove your caps. Non-active military, December 7th, 1968. Ernie Harwell invited Jose Feliciano to perform the Star-Spangled Banner before Game 5 of the 1968 World Series. Feliciano made history that day by performing the first reinterpretation of the national anthem on a very public, very national stage. And now, 42 years later, please welcome back to perform our national anthem, Jose Feliciano.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars to the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in it, they gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land and of the free and the home of the brave?
Tommy, 15. 15. 15.
Well, music was very important to Ernie Harwell. Not many people know that he was a songwriter. In fact, he had 66 of his own songs recorded by professional artists. But in his own self-deprecating way, Ernie would say, I had more no-hitters than Nolan Ryan. He developed a very close relationship with Jose Feliciano after all the fallout after that national anthem in 1968. Their relationship very special to Feliciano. who was delighted to be here to perform the national anthem on a night in which we celebrate Ernie Harwell's life, the first home game here in Detroit following Ernie's passing. Tigers and Yankees upcoming here at the ballpark downtown on a night that Ernie would absolutely love.
When the mighty case struck out. So say, hey, Willie, tell the cow. And Joe DiMaggio, don't say it ain't so. You know the time is now. Oh, put me in cold. I'm ready to play today. Put me in cold. I'm ready to play today. Look at me, I can be center field.
And now, fans, please turn your attention to the Tigers dugout for the delivery of tonight's ceremonial first pitch baseball to the mound. Please welcome Ernie Harwell's broadcasting partner from 1967 to 1972, including the World Series championship season of 1968. Ladies and gentlemen, Ray Lane. And now to throw tonight's ceremonial first pitch. He was Ernie's broadcasting partner for 19 seasons, including the World Series championship season of 1984. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Paul Carey. Ladies and gentlemen, Ray Lane and Paul Carey.
Ernie Harwell said next to Paul Carey, everybody sounded like a soprano. Paul Carey still with those great pipes. It is great to see he and Ray Lane back at a Tigers game. Tigers and Yankees upcoming. What a night it is. What a Monday night downtown. From here at the ballpark, we send it to Mickey York, who awaits in our Call Sam studios. Mick.
All right, John, thank you very much. A moving tribute to Ernie Harwell. And as Ernie would prefer, the Tigers and Yankees will play ball next. We'll be here in the Call Sam studios throughout the game and again afterwards for Tigers Live. Mario Impemba and Rod Allen join us from Comerica Park next. Game 1 of a 4-game series with the Yanks. Enjoy, everybody. And thank you, Ernie.
Here at Comerica Park. It is an absolutely beautiful night for baseball here in the